Hello and welcome to this recorded tutorial, Teachers as Ethical Deliberators. This is connected to two other recorded tutorials I've prepared, one looking at codes in teaching and the other looking at the idea of teachers as professionals. So it's linked to those, but it's also quite different as well. I want to make a slightly different set of points. I will begin though, with no apology for the repetition, at the same place that I started in the other recorded tutorials, with the idea that teaching is inescapably ethical. Teaching is all about working with people, whether it's online or face-to-face in classrooms, and it's about the interactions between those people, and being ethical is to do with how those interactions are good as opposed to undesirable, unhelpful, or bad, if you want to use that language. And this is complicated. One of the reasons it's complicated, as previously discussed, is because those situations, those interactions are unique and in the moment. So they happen in real time and you have to respond, but you never quite know exactly what the right way is to respond, and you have to improvise. And ethics education is to do with helping people to prepare for those improvisations. Actors, performers, artists don't just perform in the moment without any kind of training at all. They actually bring an awful lot of expertise and years of practice over and over again, and the same I think is true of teaching. There's no substitute for time spent in the classroom, which is why it's going to be so important that you get as much time back as you can from your practicum in the few weeks when hopefully the coronavirus situation will have resolved itself. So there's all that. But another reason why these interactions and knowing what the right thing to do in the circumstances, the other reason why this is complicated is because we actually disagree, sometimes quite fundamentally, about what the right or a good thing to do is in a situation, because we have different sets of values and beliefs. And that's why I'm going to move on next to discuss the idea of teaching as a moral activity, as a fundamentally moral pursuit. So this is linked to the idea of teaching being a profession, but I think you can say that it's a bit different, because one of the issues with the idea of a professional, which we touched on in the recorded tutorial about teaching as a profession, the idea that if you're not careful, the idea of a profession can become very technical and analytical. It can end up with, well, this is the right thing to do for a professional, and losing a sense of the complexity and ambiguity, which is all about teaching. And then what happens if you say, well, no, there's the right technical thing to do? This is a problem, because then it's erasing the values that are part of teaching, and you can't escape that. If you make a decision to follow the code that you have been given to follow, that's a moral decision. It's as much a moral decision as if you decided not to keep a code for good reason. It would be amoral just to do whatever you thought, I suggest, but all of this is leaving teaching and education in the realm of the moral, and to not think about teaching in those moral terms is problematic.